Hi, this is Amie at the Virtual Planetarium at Raritan Valley Community College. Let's take a look at some of the things we can see in the sky for the week of February 14th, 2021. I'll start with our sun. This week, sunrise is around 6:50 a.m. and sunset is around 5:35 p.m. There's a first quarter moon on February 19th, a full moon on February 27th, and a last quarter moon on March 5th. There was a new moon on February 11th. So as this week starts, we can see a waxing crescent moon in the western sky just after sunset. The moon moves farther from the sun each day, which makes it set later each day, about 45-50 minutes later. You'll also notice the moon getting fatter and fatter as it moves through its waxing phases. On Thursday, February 18th, the moon will be near Mars. They'll be just 4 degrees apart. That's less than 3 fingers worth, or about the diameter of 8 full moons. Today is Valentine's Day, so let's find some of the love stories in the sky. Let's find Andromeda and Perseus. A lot of people have heard that they have a love story in the sky. So I have the sky set for 7 p.m. and setting in the western sky is the great square of Pegasus, the constellation Pegasus, the flying horse. Off of the corner of the horse is a line of stars. This is the constellation Andromeda. Now, if you follow the line of Andromeda up, we see a sort of a wishbone shape of stars. And this is the constellation Perseus, the hero. Off the top of Perseus is a zigzag. This is Cassiopeia. And nearby Cassiopeia is a kind of a house shape if you play Connect the Dots. This is the constellation Cepheus the King. So Pegasus isn't part of the story. Well, not all the time. It depends on who's telling the story. But what do these people have in common? Well, according to the Greeks, Cassiopeia was a queen. Her husband Cepheus is next to her here. Cassiopeia was a very vain woman. One day, she announced that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs. The sea nymphs were not happy that a human claimed to be more beautiful than the goddesses. So the nymphs complained to Poseidon, god of the oceans. Poseidon sent Cetus the sea monster to ravage the kingdom. An oracle told Cassiopeia and Cepheus that the only way to save their kingdom was to sacrifice their daughter Andromeda. I'm not even sure these two thought twice before they chained their lovely daughter to the seawall. Andromeda was not terribly happy about this and was screaming for help. Luckily, Perseus the hero had just been on a quest and had killed the Gorgon Medusa. He carried the Gorgon's head in his bag. He saw the beautiful Andromeda, and he knew he had to save her. When the sea monster arrived, Perseus showed Medusa's head to him, and you know what happened. The sea monster turned to stone and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Perseus freed Andromeda, and they lived happily ever after. Medusa is represented here in the constellation of Perseus by the star Algol. The name is Arabic for demon's head, so I guess the Greek mythology continued into the Arabic culture. Algol is a variable star, brightening and dimming with clockwork regularity, completing one cycle in 2 days, 20 hours, and 49 minutes. The entire cycle is visible to the unaided eye. The brightness changes because this is an eclipsing binary system where two stars revolve around each other. When the dimmer of the two stars swings in front of the brighter star, we see Algol at minimum brightness. All right, let's go back to our stars. Also in the constellation of Perseus is the double cluster. So we'll put up our deep sky objects, and there's the double cluster, kind of between the top of Perseus and Cassiopeia. And if we zoom in, maybe take the artwork off so we can see it a little better, we can see that there are two open star clusters. They're also known as NGC 884 and NGC 869. You'll need a pretty dark sky to see them. You might also need binoculars, as the double cluster is only faintly visible to the unaided eye. These two open star clusters are approximately 7,400 light years away. Each contains 300 to 400 stars. Astronomers think that these stars are about 3 million years old, infants, when you talk about star lives. All right, back to our stars. And let's see, we'll take away our deep sky objects, kind of reposition the sky so we know where we're looking. Okay, so we have the Great Square of Pegasus, we have Andromeda, there was Perseus up higher, and then just off Perseus's foot is the star cluster, the Pleiades, and that's in the constellation of Taurus the Bull. So the Pleiades is on the bull's back. There appear to be 6 stars that we see with our eyes, but binoculars or telescopes reveal dozens or even hundreds of stars in this cluster. These are hot, young stars that still haven't burned off all the gases from the nebula in which they were formed. The Huron tribe of native peoples lived in an area that includes upstate New York by Rochester and Buffalo, as well as in Canada by Toronto. When the Huron look up at the Pleiades star cluster, they tell this story. A young man was fasting when he heard voices nearby. The voices seemed to fall from the sky. The boy listened. He thought that the voices came from the beach nearby. He slowly crept to the lake, through the grasses and reeds that grew along the beach. As he crawled ahead, the singing grew more distinct. Upon reaching the shore, he moved the reeds apart with his hands and looked around. There, on the beach, 7 young girls were singing and dancing around, surrounded with an unearthly glimmer in the light of the stars. One of them was more beautiful than the others. He became enamored of her. As he crept forward, a pebble slipped from under his hand and made a noise. The maidens quickly climbed into a large basket and vanished into the sky. The next night, the young man watched and listened. He heard the singing again and crept back to the lake. He watched as their basket landed on the beach. The maidens sang and danced around. When the fairest of the 7 sisters danced all by herself, the youthful admirer called out to her. The sisters vanished in an instant. Night after night, he watched the maidens descend in their large basket, dance and sing on the beach, and then return to the sky. One evening, he rushed into their midst and grabbed the most beautiful maiden around the waist. She took hold of the edge of the basket, but the young man held fast. She had to let go, and they both fell to the ground. The young man told her about his love and begged her to become his wife. The maiden was sad, but not truly angry. She said to him, We are the 7 sisters and have always been living together. We are the group of stars which you have often seen in the sky. It has always been our custom at this time of year to come down to the earth to dance and play. As she explained to him that she could not become his wife unless he would first get into the sky with them. So they both ascended into the skyland, where everything was wonderful. Later, the young man and the maiden returned from the sky. They lived together as husband and wife. This is why we can see among the Pleiades only 6 of the maiden sisters. Sometimes the shadow of the 7th one may be just perceived. So the planet Mars is also in our sky, of course. We've been seeing it. And there's a love story associated with Mars as well. Mars was falling in love with the goddess Minerva, the virgin goddess of wisdom and crafts. She was not impressed with him, and she rejected his amorous advances. Wondering how he could better impress Minerva and win her favor, Mars sought the help of Anna Perena, the aged goddess of New Year and time. However, Anna Perena quite fancied the handsome war god for herself. She double-crossed Mars by disguising herself as Minerva, and, wearing a veil, she tricked the god into marrying her. This famous episode of feminine guile was commemorated in Rome on the Ides of March, the 15th, when young girls would sing risque songs. So another spacecraft is on its way to Mars. Mars has been busy this past week. 2 spacecraft have arrived at Mars. The United Arab Emirates had their first spacecraft enter Mars orbit on February 9th. China's Tianwen craft entered Mars orbit on February 10th. And now the Perseverance is coming to Mars on February 18th. It includes a rover about the size of an SUV. And piggybacking on this, or maybe more like a young mammal holding onto its mother's belly, is the Ingenuity helicopter. This little helicopter is 19 inches high with rotors that span 4 feet across. The entire helicopter weighs just 4 pounds. The helicopter is a technology demonstration, hitching a ride on the Perseverance rover. The mission is landing in Jezero Crater, and its main mission is to seek signs of ancient life and collect samples of rocks for possible human return. Well, that's our sky for this week. Thanks very much for joining us in our virtual planetarium. Please subscribe to our channel and like our video. We look forward to seeing you in the real planetarium in the future. And until then, keep looking up.